Hello, and welcome to the Great Game Debate Podcast, where friends come together to discuss video games and our lives. As usual, I'm your host, Caden Barrethay Lane, and joining me this week, as always, is our man in the closet, Wes Bates. How you feeling, buddy?
Dude, I'm feeling a lot better than I was earlier in the week. I had a really nasty case of strep throat this week, and it took me down hard.
Ouch. Well, I'm glad to
Finally
hear
got
you
some
are recovering.
antibiotics. Yes, I am recovering, and to that end, useless video game trivia to share.
Yay.
So, in the third entry in the Megami Tensei series, which was the first Shin Megami Tensei game on the SNES, the game took place in a fictitious theme park called Tokyo Destiny World, which was a riff on Tokyo Disneyland. And there are two NPCs that were ripped from the game, which were incredibly similar likenesses to Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. They were called Zombie Mouse and Demon Duck, and Mickey had like two swords, and Donald was wielding a chainsaw. And if you go look this up, they look like uncannily similar to the sprites look uncannily similar to the actual characters, but they had to pull them out for fear of retaliation from the Disney company. So there you go.
Wow,
Useless
that's
trivia.
incredible. We are also joined by the godfather of the Great Game Debate himself, Jonah Gomez. Do you have anything that could possibly rival Wes's trivia in terms of interestingness, or should we just move on?
I have table knickknacks. So I got King Crow right here,
Heyo!
and
very cool.
Mario Kart Shy Guy, and that's it. So
Wow.
hi everyone.
Audio listeners missing out.
Yep.
We also have the honor of being joined this week by our special guest, the amazing, the omnipresent Tokyo Slim. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on. We will just jump right into it for our icebreaker. I hope you guys stopped by Outworld, picked up Scorpion Spears, because it's time for the icebreaker.
Get over here.
All right, Slim. So you're just this very interesting, enigmatic internet personality that just seems to be everywhere all at once. Famous for being a recurring guest on the Easy Allies reaction shots. Is there any other notable appearances by Tokyo Slim that you guys could think of that you want to shout out?
Just a genuine force on Twitter all the
Mhm.
time.
Yeah.
You know, he's always there. You know.
I think it's a cry for help.
Oh no.
It's the only actual interaction I have with people outside of work usually. So
Well, we're more than happy and thrilled to have you on. As usual, Wes likes to do secret reconnaissance on our guests to prepare me with information for questions before the guests come on. So I shall now ply you with questions.
sure.
Very, very interesting background information here that Wes has acquired. Between the years 1998 to 2009, apparently you've watched 5,500 movies.
That's a rough estimate, but yes, true.
How does one
insane.
keep track of that amount of movies and tally them up?
Well, I mean, you really don't. Like, it's a rough estimate because on average, during that span of time, I watched about 260 to 280 movies a year. Just, as my main hobby. I had a lot of spare time on my hands. I went to film festivals. Like I took notes on a lot of the stuff earlier on, but it just became such a time sink, and it's not like my job, so I didn't keep up with it. But yeah, I've seen. I mean, there was a year. It was probably like 2014 or 2015. I watched 312 movies in cinemas that year.
Wow.
Wow, actually in theater?
It's like going to the theater like almost once a day. Like
I had
Dang.
I had some days where I sat in 5 movie theaters
Wow.
during the film festivals. So
Dang. That's so
Well,
cool.
Crazy.
yeah, I'm curious, someone like myself, as much as I love multiple different mediums of art, the one I focus on for most of my time is video games, so I don't get to watch as many movies as I'd like. I mean, what is it that has really drawn you to the cinema so hard?
honestly, I'm not really sure. I mean, psychologically, you could probably tie it to childhood escapism, that kind of stuff. Yeah, we grew up real poor and didn't have a lot of like spending money. Like so, like the first real like movie experiences I had were really special. Like I went to go see Batman 1989. We stood in line for 2 hours. That was like one of the first like 3 or 4 movies I ever saw in a movie theater, and it was incredible at the time. Blew my mind.
That's cool.
Stuff like that like really I think impacted me, and I worked in a movie theater in high school, and I wanted to kind of continue in that vein afterwards. So I did go to college to try to learn like video editing and filmmaking. But everything I was learning at the time was like kind of in transition. It was like the transition from film to digital, and so nothing was really set in stone, and they weren't really teaching me anything that would help me. So I like dropped out,
Sure.
and then
Yeah.
went completely different direction. So,
Wow. Well,
but my love for
just
cinema persists. So.
for sure, yeah. It's pretty incredible. And just a couple of other interests. It mentions here that you're big on travel and that you have visited Japan multiple times. What is, kind of the fascination with Japan that draws you?
Um, I grew up in a family, like a split family, divorced mother and father, and I grew up with my mom, who is not Japanese, and I'm half Japanese. My dad, I would see him on visitations, but I kind of grew up like separated from that aspect of my personality, my life. I didn't really know anything about the culture, and I didn't really like have any education in it until I became an adult, and I kind of got curious. um, I moved back in with my dad around the time I started high school. So I was like 17, 16, 17. And I started getting curious about Japan. And in like 2003, I think I went for the first time as an adult. And I kind of went every other year or so for quite a while.
Awesome.
Um,
Wow.
just kind of exploring different parts of the country, meeting family, eating at restaurants, and taking tours and doing like both like real touristy stuff and then like also kind of like off the beaten path kind of things. So it was a really fun time in my life.
Sure.
You were supposed to go. You were supposed to go to the
Uh,
Tokyo Olympics not that long ago, right?
Yes, I was, and I did
But
not.
unfortunately,
Obviously.
it didn't shake out. I recall. That's a real bummer.
yeah, that's too bad. I am just kind of curious. I mean, is there like one thing you'd like to shout out that maybe that's like one of your like favorite things that's like a big difference between like Japanese and American culture? I'm just curious.
Oh man, between Japanese and American culture, it's it's really weird. Like the first time you go over there, it's like you landed on a completely different planet. Everything is like familiar but different in ways that you never could have like predicted. I mean,
Hmm.
obviously, like people walk on on different sides of the street because they drive on different sides of the street.
Right.
So like when you go to pass somebody on the left in the United States, you pass them on the right in Japan when you're walking, and it like freaks you out. Like this first time, like somebody comes around the wrong side of your body, or you're like trying to fight the flow of traffic because you're used to doing things one way and they do things like slightly differently.
Hmm.
Mhm.
But I love that like everything there is very mascot and cartoon oriented,
Hmm.
even like super serious like adult things. Caution, like construction signs all have like little mascots and like
Really?
cartoons on them and stuff. It's just a complete because it's accepted as just more of a part of like everyday culture in life. It's not looked at as a kids thing over there. um Mascots, like everything has mascots. Like cities have mascots that that run around in costume and like greet people, just like tourism,
That's so
you
cool.
know,
Yeah.
mascots and stuff like that. It's really fun. It's kind of like the whole area is a theme park, like all of Japan, and you just like wander around to various different like areas in this giant theme park. I don't know, that's
That's
kind of
so
cool.
Yeah, I did not know about that. Hopefully this is prying too much, but you volunteered this information
Yes.
to Wes. So it says here you got in a street brawl in Tokyo in 2005. Please elaborate.
Yes, in 2005, I was staying in. Ironically, before I even like picked up my first Yakuza game, I was staying in the area of Tokyo that's been in all the Yakuza games and is basically they call it Kamurocho in the Yakuza games. It's Kabukicho in real life. It's the infamous kind of red light district area of Tokyo. It's got a lot of nightlife and that kind of things. And I was walking back to my hotel. I grabbed some yakitori, which is grilled chicken skewers from a restaurant, and I was like heading back to my hotel. And these guys tried to drag me into an alley, like to like go to their bar, and I told them to basically like I don't know. Can I swear on this?
Yeah, you
on
can
this
swear.
Oh yeah.
I told them off, and they didn't really take very kindly to that. So we got in a little like altercation that spilled out onto the street. And in Japan, especially in like high tourist areas, they have what are called koban, which are police boxes. It's essentially just like a small building that's the size of one person, where a policeman stands and like watches out and give. Mostly, what they're there for is to give directions to people who are lost or like help people whose car breaks down or whatever.
Sure.
But we ended up fighting right in front of this police box, and it was me and like 3 Nigerians and a couple of other Japanese guys that kind of just got like dragged into it, and it lasted like I don't know, probably 4 minutes, which doesn't sound like a long time, but when you're actually fighting somebody and like that's a long fight. And I essentially like punched this dude really hard in the face and fairly severely injured him to end this fight. And it's not something I'm super like proud of because I don't like it was the last fight I got into, and it was like the first major fight I'd been in as an adult, outside of boxing or whatever I used to do.
Oh wow.
Some boxing, but not a lot.
Mess with the wrong guy. Damn.
But yeah, that pretty much ended the fight. But yeah, I was like, don't, I'm a fairly large man. Don't drag me into an alley against my will. Like,
what can you say?
I looked up at the cop.
Nope.
The cop just like shrugged at me, like,
What?
okay, whatever.
He was just standing there watching.
Yep.
You didn't do anything.
Nope.
His first day on the job.
I mean, they're not really equipped to handle violence, like in Demolition Man. They're basically just like tourist guides.
Stop.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
So
who
they
was the one that grabbed you then? You said it was some Nigerian guys and some Japanese. So was it the Japanese guys that grabbed you or the Nigerian guys?
It was the Nigerian guys. They're like they're essentially like they have a lot of real sketchy bars that they try to trick tourists to go to so they can overcharge them and then like bully them into paying this exorbitant amount of money for like, hey, the drink that you ordered is $1,200, like, or whatever, so it was kind of one of those deals. They tried to get me to go in this bar and I told them to and then they're like, no, really, come to the bar, and like tried to pull me into this alley, and that's kind of how it started. I was trying to go home and eat some chicken, man. Like,
yeah, that's a surreal situation.
Don't get between the man and his chicken.
Yeah.
Moral of the story.
Yeah, a follow-up question then. It says here your favorite video game series is Yakuza and Yakuza adjacent properties, which is very fitting coming off of that story because there's lots of street brawls.
Yeah, that sounds exactly like something that would happen in Yakuza.
One of the things that originally drew me to that series, yes. It's like it's like real life.
Yeah.
Did they model Kiryu after you?
No,
really?
no one human man can live up to that standard. I'm sorry.
Have you ever been playing Yakuza and then you're just like getting flashbacks and you're like you just like snap back and you're holding your control and you're like, okay, I'm at home.
The fighting in Yakuza is far too stylized to actually like remind me of anything that happened. Like
You didn't.
fighting is messy. It's not like cool like that. You don't
Yeah.
feel awesome while you're doing it. You're like trying to breathe and
Sure.
not get hit.
You didn't
And
smash a bicycle over anybody's head.
no,
did you? Okay. All right.
I would have if there would have
just
been a
had to check.
bicycle close by though. I definitely wouldn't now. I'd look around for like a cone or a street cone or something, But
He's just like
Put it on there.
I was too inexperienced back then to have looked for those things.
Well, I'm curious. I know like a big draw for games like Persona and Yakuza for Japanese gamers is that, a lot of them have been to like the locations represented in those games. And, a lot of like Westerners, like we don't have the opportunity to have that experience a lot of the time. But I guess you have had that experience, right, with Yakuza? Like you've been to that
Definitely.
region it's based off of. I mean, what's that like kind of, playing the game, having that experience?
It's crazy. There's some pretty big differences, but there's also a lot of real like intense similarities. I don't know, a lot of people don't realize this, but pretty much every item and like restaurant in the game, with the exception of a few, are like real places and real items. They're like branded. You would never see that in a Western game because of like rights management stuff. But like CC Lemon and like all the like Boss coffees and everything you're drinking, those are like real products that exist in real life, and you're buying them and drinking them in the game.
Right.
Stuff like Ikanari Steak is a real restaurant. There's one of those in Yakuza 6. There's the sushi places. I can't remember exactly like all the names of the places, but there's like a whole bunch of like real restaurants
like
in
Don Quixote stores and stuff like that.
yeah,
That's real too, right?
totally real. Yeah. And
Do
in
you
fact,
happen-
in that location, in the game, is where Don Quixote is in real life. So
Wow. So do you know if they're able to do that in Yakuza just because like copyright laws and stuff like that are like more lax in Japan, or are they going through the trouble of like making deals with these IPs to like
I
put them in the
honestly
game?
don't know. I have a
Yeah.
feeling it's kind of a combination of both. That like the games themselves are so popular, especially now they've gained popularity in the West, that the brands have made it easier for Sega to use them and maybe like offered them up to Sega to use.
Right.
And also like the fact that there's it's free advertising, I guess, and
Yeah.
and
Well, you want your product to be in the game. Like
and I think that the copyright laws are they're different. I don't know whether they're laxer or harsher. I can't really speak to the Japanese like legal system in that way, but
Sure.
Man, it would be cool if like a company like tried to like increase the stats on their product in the game. Like, hey, buy more of these and you'll get full health refill,
Yeah.
Sure. Well, cool. Do either of you guys have any burning questions for Slim before we move on?
I do have one, since we're so focused on like the Japanese culture and stuff. What are your top 5 Japanese foods?
Lightning round.
Ooh. Top 5 Japanese foods.
Or we could do like Japanese snacks or something. I don't.
I'm tonkatsu, which is the fried breaded pork cutlets, curry rice.
Okay.
I mean, let's see, what else? I like shabu shabu, Japanese hot pot.
Oh, okay.
I'm a big fan of. I mean, obviously, there's like the sushi and sashimi, the rolls, chirashi don. I like nikudon, which is the like yoshinoya. It's the thin sliced meat over rice.
Oh, okay.
Man, there's pretty much everything. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not a huge. There's like one or two things I'm not like a huge fan of. I don't really like uni all that much. I know it's a very expensive delicacy. I'm just not, the texture of it just
What is
doesn't do
that?
anything for me. It's the sea urcin. It's like a sea urchin roe. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
little yellow. They look like
I've
little
seen that,
yellow tongues, kind of.
Oh.
But they're
Sounds very appetizing.
and it's not the flavor, because it's just the texture. It's a weird texture.
All right. Well, listeners, you now know what to eat and what to avoid if you ever go to Japan. Wes, did you have anything you want to ask Slim, or are we ready to move on?
Yeah, just one thing, I
Mhm.
guess, real quickly. The other thing that I guess I really know you for, just mostly, I guess, via Jonah, is I know you guys went back and forth quite a bit about PC builds,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
because you built like a super crazy PC not that long ago, and
I've actually built
so
2 of them pretty recently.
Wow.
so I was just curious, like, how did you get into that, and where did you pick that up? Because it seems like you're kind of a font of knowledge when it comes to these PC builds, and I know you helped Jonah out quite a bit, and you
Yeah.
guys have talked about that in the past. So
I've been building my own PCs since 1996. I worked briefly in a mall-based British PC manufacturer, and like it was kind of like a Dell competitor, but they had like stores in shopping malls. It was called Tiny Computers, and you could go and like spec out different custom computers, and we would build them and mail them to people
Gotcha.
at their homes. And it didn't last very long, and we didn't do any of the building themselves. But I was intimately familiar with like the parts and how to put stuff together as part of that job. Just selling people, different upgrades and that kind of thing. And I just like, yeah, I could just put these together myself. So I started doing it on the side for me and my friends back when I don't know, people were afraid to do like more people were afraid to build their own PCs back then than they are now.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
really not that hard. It's kind of
Yeah.
like grown up Legos. You just
A
stuff
little
just
bit,
like
yeah.
snaps into place. Just make sure that you're not static charging your components, and you're pretty much
Right.
fine. Like,
Make sure you put
um,
your processor in properly before you
yeah,
close
Yeah.
it.
yeah,
Some people
don't,
just see like wires and cords and a circuit board with transistors, and they don't realize that all that stuff is already like attached. It's just
yeah,
like,
for sure.
it's like 7 or 8 things you just snap together.
And there's a lot of websites that you can go to help you like plan out builds to give you a rough idea of like what your performance is going to be like and whether parts are compatible or not. Because that's really the only other thing is certain like CPUs have a certain socket, and motherboards have to have this right socket for the CPU that you're using and that kind of stuff. But it's it's less complicated than it seems.
Yeah.
I've probably built 20 or 30 computers
Nice.
over the last couple decades, and currently talking to you on my gaming rig right now, and I have a living room PC I just built a couple months ago in the living room.
Cool.
Very cool. All right. Well, in case anyone was wondering why we invited such an extreme cinephile onto this episode, you're about to find out. I turn things over to the judge, Jonah, to take us into the debate.
Welcome, friends, one and all, to this movie extravaganza. As this week we are going to be talking about, debating about video game movies. And to represent Mortal Kombat, we have our friend Tokyo Slim.
which Mortal Kombat?
The very first one.
1995.
Which one
A
was
good
it?
one.
1995.
1995.
Thank you for clarifying.
The year I was born. That's
Oh my
Oh,
God.
snap.
And we have
Make me
Caden
feel old, man.
representing Resident Evil.
Yo.
Woo!
Which Resident Evil?
It's the
Yeah, that's an important question.
It's
It's the 2002 film.
the 2002 film.
Ironically, I'd like to point out that both these films were directed by the same director, which is
Oh,
like
that's
super
awesome.
weird.
Indeed, they were.
It's very big coincidence there. Or
Uh,
maybe not such a big coincidence. I'm surprised that you didn't want to do Monster Hunter, Caden.
I have been so repelled by that movie, I haven't even watched it yet. So
oh, we might need to do a watch party on that one then. Anyway, as always, we have our 2-minute opening statement, our 2-minute rebuttal, and then our 2-minute closing thoughts. And Tokyo Slim, heads or tails?
Tails never fails.
hmm.
It is Tails. Would you like to
Oh.
start out the debate or close it out?
I'll close it out.
Oh. Okay,
Well, I'm
Caden.
ready, baby.
You got 2 minutes on the clock. Are you ready, sir?
Yes.
3, 2, 1, debate.
All right. First things first. Please try to separate this movie in your mind from all of its sequels because they're absolutely terrible, and this one's actually good. Just to, I guess, kind of why I like this movie is for the main thing. I think this is one of the only good video game movies that exists out there where you could probably enjoy this just as like a horror fan and not as a fan of the video game and be like totally lost. And one thing that I think makes this movie so successful is that it doesn't actually try to just replicate the game or like, you know, put pieces together from the games like characters and plot points and stuff. I think every character in this movie is an original character. They didn't just like, here's Chris and here's Jill and here, you know, like that kind of thing. And it's kind of like it's taking the elements that make Resident Evil and telling an original story with those elements, which is what I think makes it so successful. And one thing I really appreciate about this movie is like a lot of the other video game movies, you kind of like they seem kind of like fast paced, like they're just like plot beat, like let's go, we got to shove in all this information from the games to make sure we don't disappoint the fans. And this movie like actually takes time to like develop a compelling narrative and develop the characters so you actually like care about them, at least in my opinion. And it's not afraid to like
30 seconds.
Put in some slow moments to like really let things sink in. There's a scene in the beginning of the movie where the security system of the secret lab is murdering all its own employees, and this guy goes to take an axe to break through a glass window in the locked room, and he slams like the spike point on the back of the axe to the window, and just a chip of the glass comes out, and the camera follows the chip and zooms in on it as it comes to rest on the ground, and you're just like, oh man, these guys are so
Very good. And let me write my notes. You said all of the sequels were bad?
Yeah.
I like, what was the one where they're in Vegas? That one was, I like that
I don't
one.
know.
I thought that one was sick.
Maybe I should rewatch it. Well, I'll see.
All right, Slim, how are you feeling after that?
That was a very good presentation. I agree with a lot of your points. I'm going to do my best to represent my game movie in as good a light.
All right, Slim, your opening statement. Starting in 3, 2, 1, begin.
You have to go back in time to think of the other video game movies that came before this. You were talking your Super Mario Brothers. You're talking, you know, those kind of ones that really had no ties to the movie or to the game they were representing at all, or if any, it was just such a superficial connection. This was the first movie based on a game that really tried to appeal to the people playing the game. And it didn't necessarily do that, and it couldn't necessarily do that by having the things the game was famous for, which was the violence, the blood, that kind of stuff. Because of the contract they had with New Line Cinema, they had to deliver a PG-13 movie. So what they did instead was they tried to recreate what it was like to play the game. At the time, it was mostly an arcade experience. You were talking, getting together with your friends and playing in a crowded arcade full of people and talking trash back and forth and having fights. And the characters that you knew from the game are in the movie. Some of the sets are in the movie that you know from the game. And it was such a cultural milestone at the time. It has the first Western film to show like Hong Kong style wire martial arts action years before The Matrix did it. It had an all-time banger of a soundtrack. The soundtrack went platinum less than 2 weeks after it was released. It was the first platinum EDM record in history.
Whoa.
And it had an effect going forward on the games themselves. Characters that were in the movie, the following games, you know, were more aligned with the characters from the movie than they were with the original game after that movie. it was just fun. It's a fun movie. It doesn't hold up graphically, but it's great.
Time. Very good. All right, just a reminder, and I forgot to say this at the beginning. We have Wes as an additional 30-second assist trophy, and you can call him once for your entire debate. So you still have him for either your rebuttal or your closing thoughts. Caden, are you ready to start round
Yes,
2?
sir.
The rebuttal. 3, 2, 1, debate.
All right, so I guess the point that I'll focus on is the music, because I know soundtrack Mortal Kombat movie is legendary, and while the music in Resident Evil is not necessarily the most memorable, I think it's like akin to kind of like the Breath of the Wild soundtrack, where nobody really remembers a lot of the music of Breath of the Wild or puts on the Breath of the Wild soundtrack to like just hang out and listen to while they're doing something else. But the soundtrack of Breath of the Wild perfectly serves like the mission of Breath of the Wild as like a piece of art, and I feel like the music is the same way in Resident Evil. Though I know in real life he's been exposed as a total douchebag. I think Marilyn Manson did like 5 tracks for this movie, and especially that opening theme. I love it. It draws me in. It creates this air of mystery, and I feel like the music is doing that, like perfectly suiting like the atmosphere and the tone of the movie as it goes. And there's this one part that really struck me as I was rewatching it, where it's deep in the movie, and the 2 characters who are central to the plot that have amnesia brought on by drugs, I guess, they've gone through a shocking event that's jarring their memory and causing them to recover their memory. And there's this like swelling music that's just, it sounds like a droning of like a swarm of bees. It's like rising and rising and rising until it's like deafening. And then suddenly it just like stops as the characters like reach like a clarity. It's like the swarm of bees sound is like the mental fog, and then like it stops, and then there's like a clarity when they suddenly like regain all their memories and realize what happens, and then it goes down from there. But I like the music in this movie. It's good stuff. Wes, say something bad about Mortal Kombat, please. Go.
Okay, Slim kind of alluded to this as well, but the special effects in Mortal Kombat, a lot of them do not hold up well at all, particularly where they tried to use CG. The one that really stands out is the character Reptile. He looks straight like he's out of the animated series Reboot from a long time ago. It looks absolutely terrible. Some bad CG with like when souls get pulled out of their bodies and stuff. It looks really bad. But
nicely done. All right, Slim, how are you feeling after that rebuttal?
I'm okay about it. Like I said, I admit the graphics are not the best. It's a 1995 movie with computer graphics that were added last minute. So, I mean, what are you going to do? That's not the point of the whole thing. So,
all right. Closing out round 2. Slim, are you ready to rock and roll?
Is this my rebuttal, or is this closing?
Yes.
This is your rebuttal.
Yeah. Rebuttal.
Okay. When I'm starting, whenever you're ready.
3, 2, 1, debate.
From what I remember of the Resident Evil movie, and again, we're going to try to separate the first movie from the rest of them. The rest of the Mortal Kombat movies aren't great either, so I understand that. Also, as we talked about previously, directed by the same person. I would argue that Paul W.S. Anderson's best movies are his first 4, and then he's kind of gone downhill since then. That does include, in my opinion, the Resident Evil films. Mostly because I think he kind of lost what made Mortal Kombat a good adaptation in the first place, and it's, as you alluded to, it was the characters and the pacing of that movie that made it great. I think that while Resident Evil does take a lot of time to set things up, I think that it doesn't give you the same feeling as playing a Resident Evil game. I think that it's more focused on being a horror movie, or having, like all these new characters you don't know, setting them up, having to kind of uncover their mystery rather than dealing with the lore that was already in place, which is fine. It did a good job doing that. It was just not something that I expected as I went to go see that movie. It giving me not what I wanted is not necessarily a great slight over it, but it is what it is. Also, the CG in that is also dated, not as dated as 95, but it is still very dated. And I think that it doesn't necessarily follow its own lore and rules in the own movie. Michelle Rodriguez's character gets bit very early on, goes throughout like an hour and a half of movie time without turning, and then turns as a plot point very late in the movie, when everybody else who gets bit goes right away.
All right.
Hey, I wish I had another rebuttal.
Well, I mean, it's your closing thought.
Yeah.
You can use it for whatever you want. All right. Let's start round 3 off, Caden. 3, 2, 1, debate.
All right. Well, I do kind of want to focus on Michelle Rodriguez's character Rain, because she's actually one of my favorite characters in the movie, because through her in the movie we kind of get an experience that you don't actually ever really get in a Resident Evil game, is like the slow decline of someone into a zombie that you were emotionally vested in. And I feel like it's not like she's just, oh, I'm like 100%, and then like at the end of the movie she's suddenly a zombie. Like, she has a slow decline. She gets bit like multiple times. There's a point in the movie where she's trying to shoot at some zombies to cover an ally, and she's like being so affected by the virus and like the nausea that she can't even like see. There's like sweat and blood in her eyes, and she's unable to actually perform in combat because of the symptoms of the virus, and someone else has to take the gun from her. And then later she's so like psychologically and physically beaten down when they like get into the lab and they go to where the cure's supposed to be and they can't find it. She literally sits down and slumps to the ground, and she just says, I can't go on. Like, I think it's a really great arc. But anyway, she also has some iconic lines when she arrests a guy at the beginning of the movie and he tells her to get the hell off of him. She says, me. Whenever she kills the first zombie by shooting like 30 bullets into it and launching it off into the air, she says, standing now. Anyway, also I want to talk about real quick about the laser hallway scene, which I think is one of the most iconic
30 seconds.
Horror scenes in cinema. Just when you see the reflection in the metallic door of the guy's cubed body sliding apart into a meat pile, and so it was so iconic that Capcom themselves stole the idea for Resident Evil 4, which came out afterward, wherein Secret Agent Leon S. Kennedy has to, Tom Cruise Mission Impossible his way through a laser hallway. But yeah, I mean, that's really all I got. I love this movie. I think it's cool. And yeah, it's good.
Very good.
That is an excellent scene.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Slim, just a reminder, you have a 30-second assist trophy from Wes. You can start or use him at the end. It's your choice, or you don't have to use him at all.
We're going to start with him.
Oh, all right, Wes. Let me put 30 seconds on the clock for you. Are you ready, sir?
Yep.
All right. 3, 2, 1, begin.
Okay, I was going to use this in the rebuttal, but I'm going to say it now. So the great thing about Mortal Kombat is it maintains the spirit of the games. The terrible thing about Resident Evil is it doesn't maintain the spirit of the games. There is where do you spend all your time in Resident Evil 1? The Spencer Mansion. How much time do they spend in the Spencer Mansion in the movie? About 2 minutes before they're off into a lab. There is literally nothing happens in the mansion except they get in an elevator and they leave. And that absolutely goes against everything. There's no weird traps. There's no like bizarre puzzles to solve. There's none of that. It totally lacks the complete spirit of Resident Evil in that way.
All right, so I got
Thank
2
you for
minutes
that.
on the clock. Are you ready, sir?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, go.
I'm just going to lay some facts out for you. Mortal Kombat made $122 million worldwide on a budget of from $18 to $20 million. It topped the box office in the United States for 3 straight weeks. It was the second highest August film opening of all time when it came out. It was the highest video game cinematic property at the box office in history at the time of its release. Domestically, it outperformed things like Outbreak, Heat, Bad Boys, Babe, 12 Monkeys, Clueless, Casino, Tommy Boy Friday, Billy Madison, The Usual Suspects, and Mallrats at the 1995 box office. The cast of the movie is superb. They all took their jobs very seriously. Pretty much everybody who could do their own stunts did their own stunts. Robin Shou broke 3 of his ribs doing this movie. And Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa is a veteran film actor. Nailed Shang Tsung so much so that like it is pretty much like the best interpretation of that character that has been depicted in media over the years. So much so they brought him back to be, I believe, a downloadable skin, and along with Christopher Lambert, Bridget Wilson-Sampras, and Lyndon Ashby in Mortal Kombat 11. He's also done voice work on some of the animated stuff. He's done a lot of a couple of the shorts, that kind of other things as well in universe.
30 seconds.
While it's not the ultra-violent bloodbath that the games are known for, I'd argue the film's Enter the Dragon-inspired fighting tournament-style movie provides enough action, banter, and set design to evoke the feeling of playing Mortal Kombat against your friends. Its continuing legacy within Mortal Kombat's IP is undeniable. It's about the characters and the fighting, 2 things the film got so right that it left its mark on the entire franchise forever.
Ooh.
I'm done.
Leaving 5 seconds on the table. Very nice.
Give him to Don.
Man said what he needed to say.
All right. Dang, dude. This is probably the hardest one for me to decide on which one I think.
The opponent.
Oh, man. Slim brought the heat for sure.
I have a point of order to bring to the judge's attention. Wes implied that they take an elevator to leave the mansion in Resident Evil. In fact, they take a train. Okay.
They have to take an elevator to get to the train.
Oh, whatever.
All right. Well, Wes, I think I'm gonna ask you first. Who do you think won this debate? It's a good one.
It was good. I have to say, I think like I feel Caden's passion for Resident Evil because he spent most of his rebuttal not tearing down Mortal Kombat, but rather like representing his own movie.
Yeah, why
But
it's better.
in that aspect though, I felt that the debate part, like him actually like tell me why Mortal Kombat is bad. I didn't hear that. All I heard was why is Resident Evil good.
Mhm.
And I really appreciated the points that Slim brought to the table. So Caden, you did a nice job with it, and I appreciate a lot of your points. And having recently watched the movie again, like a lot of the scenes you were describing, I was, like you're absolutely right, the things that you said. But I think that I'm gonna go with Slim on this just because I felt like his debate was just slightly stronger overall.
Damn.
All right, that's 1 point for Slim. And you know what? Slim, I have to agree 100% with Wes. Well, I guess I'm gonna say 90% with Wes. I think your debate was fantastic, and you know what? You helped me like relive some of that movie magic that the original Mortal Kombat movie brought, and I'm getting flashbacks. But I think Caden representing the characters and what they felt and the progression of that movie, I think, is what is gonna take my point. So, Caden, you got my point, my friend.
Ooh.
And
That means a lot, Jonah.
Yeah,
I just want to say, like, earlier today, Slim put the Mortal Kombat theme song in the group chat, and like I knew at that moment I'd lost already. Like, but I appreciate the vote of confidence.
Yeah, dude, no, for sure.
No, you did a good job. Everybody did a good job.
No, everyone did a great job.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was wondering how this was going to go down, and it was a really great debate.
Oh yeah, it was fantastic debate.
It was an honor, sir. I appreciate it, and I also really like Resident Evil, so it was a good choice.
Thank you.
So we will rewind and go back to last week's debate, or whatever you want to call it. It was a little bit of a mess. But we had Majora's Mask versus A Link Between Worlds. Winning 9-5 was Majora's Mask. So, Caden, Caden, you got a win this week. We'll see. Or you got a win last week. Let's see if you get the win this week.
Congratulations, Caden.
Thank you. And
And
of course.
and Steven, if you're listening, thanks a lot.
All right, Caden, I will
Just kidding.
send it back to you, man.
All right, we are back from our break. Everybody's recovered from the intense battle of wills that was the debate. And now it's time for the pitch, wherein each of us will spend 2 minutes pitching a game to the rest of the panelists, trying to convince us to buy it. Up first to the pitcher's mound is Wes Bates. Are you keeping time, Jonah?
I will be keeping time.
All right.
All right, you ready to throw this fastball, Wes?
We will see how fast this ball goes.
Okay.
Let's go.
3, 2, 1, pitch.
Gentlemen, I'm here to bring you a truly gripping and emotional experience on the likes of games like What Remains of Edith Finch. I haven't had a game, honestly, like pull me in this emotionally this much since that game. The game I'm talking about is Before Your Eyes, which is a unique kind of narrative game. I believe it's only on PC right now. It's unique because the main mechanic of the game is it operates through your camera, and it operates by watching your eyes and tracking your blinking. So the premise of the game is that you wake up in kind of like the sea of souls in the afterlife, and this like soul fisherman like pulls you up onto his boat, and he's looking to present you to this goddess and tell your life story to the goddess so that he's rewarded for finding a unique soul, and you get to spend the rest of your afterlife kind of in like a better place. And on your way traveling to the goddess, he's trying to recap your story, and so you're going back and reliving your life, and you see these basically snippets basically from the beginning of your life all the way through your life as it's happening. But every time you blink, time flashes forward, and you don't know how far forward in your life it's going to go. So you really have to be careful with what you're doing. And
30
if you
seconds.
move the camera over certain aspects of the environment and you blink, like more of the story will reveal itself. And so everything is just kind of like unfolds, and this just as the story goes on. And it really moved me.
Oh no.
Burr, burr, burr.
5, 4,
Whoa.
3, 2, 1. All right. Hopefully we get Wes back.
Dang. Yeah. Maybe we should just move to the next pitch, and then
Well,
hopefully he'll be back.
I guess we could discuss it amongst ourselves for a few.
Oh,
Like,
wait. He's moving. Are we
Back?
going back?
oh, Wes is
I'm
back.
back.
Wes is
I'm
back.
back.
Well, I think you basically
I'm
finished your
sorry.
pitch. It just
Yeah.
conked out right at the end there. So,
Do you want me to redo it? I can redo it.
I mean, we got most of your
yeah,
pitch.
it's just like the last 10 seconds, really. Yeah, we heard the rest of it. I'm
Okay.
really,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sold.
about that.
I'll play it.
yeah, I'm extremely curious though. I did not know about this mechanic with the camera blinking. Like that sounds really wild. I mean, if you literally just stand there and like spam blinking your eyes, will you just like skip through the entire game super fast? Like,
GDQ speedrun is just
Uh,
like someone
I
like
think
blinking as fast
yeah,
as they can.
in some instances you will, and you will miss stuff. And it really takes away from the experience if you were to do that, I think.
sure. Did you ever find yourself like intentionally straining your eyes, like trying not to blink to
Yeah,
not?
I
Yeah.
did, and in some instances I actually had to pause the game because you can pause it, and I had like look away and then like blink and then come back. So I guess I cheesed it a little bit in that way, but I didn't want to miss anything.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm pretty
cut out again.
curious about the facial recognition or whatever that they're using, because as a Asian American person, a lot of times what ends up happening with stuff that like tracks your eye movements and tracks blinking is it doesn't get my eyes.
Oh, really?
Wow.
I y'all can kind of see because you're watching me on a video right now, but I have very narrow eyes,
Sure.
and it doesn't really register them as being open a lot of the time when
Oh,
I
man.
have them open. So I'm curious to see how good their tracking is, because I mean that's something that can
Yeah.
be fixed with algorithm and testing and that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And curious to see whether they did any of that.
Before you before you actually have to go through a calibration
I see.
kind of setting, not on the camera itself, but in the game. And it asks you to blink, and it tracks your blinks, and then it asks you like how accurate it was. And you can tell the game like, oh, this is really accurate, or we need to recalibrate again. And you can stop at any point and recalibrate the camera if it's not working well. In some instances, I had to do that because I played at night and the lighting wasn't real good, and so there was like almost like shadows over my eyes. But it actually worked surprisingly well, even though my lighting was really bad when I played the game.
Hmm.
And it actually does some really interesting stuff other than just blinking with that. I won't spoil it, but it uses the camera in some really unique ways
Gotcha.
Wow. Okay.
that I wasn't expecting.
Cool.
I'm just curious if you have a couple of examples of like, I mean, the blinking thing is like a really interesting mechanic, but like, what are you doing like between, like in these snippets of whatever you call them, between blinks?
So you can look around in the scene that you're in, and then in some cases you have to kind of like use the camera to track back and forth, following something with your eyes, or you have to highlight things within the environment and blink. And if you highlight the right thing and blink, it actually doesn't move things forward. It'll actually like
Uh,
expose a piece of the scene that you couldn't see before,
Oh, okay.
and
cool.
like give you more out of that scene. So
That's
it's pretty
cool.
neat.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
this just sounds like such a unique experience. Like, I'm definitely in. Like, that sounds really cool. What about you,
Yeah,
John?
I don't know if you caught it at the end, but it's a very short game. It's like 2 hours long. And
Nice.
so I did the whole thing in one sitting.
Oh, okay.
Very
Um
cool.
which I would definitely recommend doing it
Mhm.
that way instead of breaking it up if you are planning to play it.
Does
Just
it
take the night and play through it.
does
It's
it feel like a well done interactive movie, more or less? Would you say? Or does it actually
I,
feel like a
I
video
didn't
game?
I didn't really feel like it was I didn't I felt like it was more of like an indie game experience.
Okay.
There's enough interaction, and you have to move the camera around to follow the scene in some cases, that I didn't really feel like it was, it would be more of akin to something like a walking simulator, except you're not actually walking anywhere. You're just
Gotcha.
following things with your eyes and,
Okay.
looking around. But there's enough interaction, I think, that it felt like a game. I felt like I was playing a game and not watching a movie, like a choose your own adventure or something like that.
Okay. Cool. Yeah,
Does it give you any weird stats at the end? Like you blinked 7,435 times during this game.
You know, I don't think so. I'm trying to remember back if there was anything like that, but I don't think that there are any stats.
That
And if
would
there
be
were, I wasn't
something.
paying attention to them anyway because I was just like, oh my god, I can't believe this experience. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
wow.
I just rarely come across a game that just you know hits me in the heart as much as this one did.
Okay.
Cool. So, are you guys in? You buying?
Yeah, I'm
And
interested.
Cool.
I really recommend it. It's really unique. I should also mention I got your money or your time. So the
Mhm.
wall to entry, barrier to entry is pretty low.
Okay. Yeah, I think once I have a graphics card that allows me to play games, I'll probably pick it up for sure.
Got to
Alright,
pay the
cool.
price. Got to pay the price.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So we'll move on to the next contestant. Slim, you're up to the pitcher's mound. Jonah will count you down, and then you'll have 2 minutes to present your game.
All right.
3, 2, 1, begin.
I'm playing a couple things right now, but what I'm bringing to the table today is Lost Judgment.
Ooh.
I'm probably about 3/4 of the way through this game, I think. So I can't really speak to how the end of it is or the quality of anything past where I'm at the moment. Um, but essentially, it's very similar to the first game in some ways, and they've added and changed some things for the second game that I think are beneficial. If you're familiar with the original Lost Judgment, one of the main criticisms of it was um, tailing missions are boring or badly implemented. And this has a couple of those still, but I feel like they're a little peppier, a little better implemented. They're not as drawn out. And there's really only, I think I've only maybe done 2 of them the entire game so far. Um, a lot of the stuff that was tailing is replaced by other things like there's chase missions now where you just like run after people until they get exhausted and you catch them. And then you can like, they run in like a certain pattern around the neighborhood and you can like kick cans at them to slow them down and that kind of thing. So it's a little more involved than like sneaking up to a car and ducking and then sneaking to a corner and ducking. Um, Most of the early game and like the mid game actually is like takes place in a high school, and it's while it's a little weird for like this grown ass like 35-year-old detective to be like fighting with high school kids. They're like essentially they're bullies. The whole story is kind of centered around bullying and how it
25 seconds.
drives high school kids to commit suicide and what punishment adults like are able to give to them or what attention that like they the kids need to to get out of their systems, that kind of stuff. It's a very interesting game. A lot of sub stories, plots, games, etc. It's a Yakuza light, so it's what it is.
Time.
Right. So I'm
I
curious,
did a
like I think
terrible job selling that.
it's a lot of pressure. It's only 2 minutes. Something it reminded me of in terms of the story was just like the first act of like Persona 5 dealing with like the volleyball teacher. But are you saying like because that's what I kind of assumed would happen in this game. It's like the high school thing is like one part and then you move on to something else. But is that like central to the plot?
It's
That
an
the whole
integral
game?
part of the plot so far. In fact, like
Okay.
the whole setup is like there's a murder that happens, and the guy who was murdered is an ex bully who became a teacher, and so like the bullying aspect is like throughout the game.
Gotcha. Were there any parts of the game where like a group of Nigerians tries to force you to come into their like extortion bar and then you have to like fight them on?
I have not encountered a sub story like that yet, but if I remember correctly, there is one somewhere in Yakuza that's similar to like that. But
Okay.
it's kind of a popular thing where like not necessarily Nigerians all the time. I don't want to like stereotype anybody, but there are
Sure.
like Yakuza run bars that will try to extort people. They get them drunk and then like take all their money and that kind of stuff. So it does happen there. Um, be safe when you go out drinking and go
Sure.
out in groups, and that's what you got to do sometimes.
So
Japan is very, very safe. Usually it's,
Right.
yeah, how's the mini game selection in this compared
Mm.
to other Yakuza and Yakuza style games?
I honestly feel like that's one of the main selling points. And if I had any longer, I would have told you an extensive list of these things that are in this game. I feel like it has the most mini games and like variety of mini games that I've seen in a long time. There's a
Wow.
Dance Revolution kind of like mini game. There's karaoke is still in it, darts and like all the other stuff. There's a kart racer that's kind of
Nice.
pretty similar to like Dragon Kart from Yakuza 7. There's but it's skateboards instead of carts. There's
Nice.
skateboard racing. And there's like kind of a weird like light version of like a Tony Hawk like half pipe trick simulator kind of thing too. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there that's like pretty new. Some of it works better than others, and a lot of it is tied into the mini games and sub stories with the high school. Um, obviously like the skateboarding stuff, you're like trying to like infiltrate this like group of taggers who are skateboarding around town and whatever. So you have to learn how to skateboard and become part of their gang or whatever.
Sure.
because teenage skateboarders love 35-year-old teachers who like whatever come to hang out with them and
It kind of
tag
sounds like
stuff.
the plot of like a '90s movie. Is like the
Exactly.
detective trying to learn how to skateboard, skate
Yep.
cop.
Yeah, it's real like Yakuza type of games like the tone of it is always just like random and wild.
Yeah.
So it's very similar to that. There's very serious stuff, and then like just complete goofball nonsense happens. But you know what you're getting into if you've played any of these games before, and the combat is pretty good still, all that stuff. So
Awesome.
Yes, how's the quality of the side stories also? Is it up there, or is it kind of so compared to other games in the series? Because that's my favorite part of those games, honestly, is the side stories.
for sure, I think that a lot of them are upper middle tier, I guess. I would say there's nothing that has really like rocked me to my core yet. I feel like that's probably going to come later game with like, because it's a detective story and I'm still in the middle of uncovering all of these various threads that like fit into each other in the game. So I feel like once we start getting some resolution, sub stories wise, maybe can feed into that more and like really impact me more. But right now I'm just like, oh, this is an interesting thing that's happened, and oh, that thing from earlier is part of this, and whatever. All the sub stories kind of tie together in various ways, which I really appreciate, and it really is more of like a detective story than a Yakuza game, which is just like, hey, this is a series of events that's happening to Kiryu. All the stuff that Yagami is going through is he's trying to figure out why like all this stuff is happening, and it's kind of all related. So all these different threads and different cases he's on are like intermingling, and they're all kind of connected, and he's like trying to figure out why and pulling on various different strings and doing different sub stories to fill in information. So
Gotcha.
I do have. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jenna.
I was gonna say, as someone who hasn't played the first game, how necessary
My
is that
question. Yeah.
to play this one?
I don't think it's necessary at all. I think that the stuff from the first game that's important character backstory wise is kind of done in flashbacks when it's necessary. That being said, despite like having, probably like 6 or 7 tailing missions, that is about 5 or 6 too many. I think the rest of that game's story holds up real well and is pretty interesting and fun. Um, and I think while it's not necessary to like get everything to play this game, I think it will definitely help with like knowing who different characters are and how they relate and stuff like that. Because like a Yakuza game, there's probably 30 characters in this game from like other places, and you're like, oh, where's that person from?
Okay.
So
Gotcha. Well, man, I know for me personally, like the Yakuza games is just one of the like legendary series that I haven't taken the plunge on yet, and like I don't know if like this would be like the right one to be like this is gonna be my first like Yakuza or Yakuza adjacent game,
yeah.
Like probably the one would be like a Dragon for me because I'm also so turn based. But if I want a brawler, maybe it makes more sense to jump into the Judgment series because it's less of like it's less intimidating than like the entire Yakuza series. So.
That's exactly how I'm feeling too. Is like,
Yeah,
maybe I should just hop into Judgment and I'll kind of like let everyone enjoy Yakuza, and I'll just kind of be on the sidelines, being like, Judgment's
the gateway.
cool. Yeah.
Honestly, 7 is a great place to start too, because it's a completely brand new story. Yes, they're returning characters, but they're not important to this plot at all. They're just there as fan service. And while it's a turn-based game, and it's kind of like there's some hiccups in the turn-based combat nature of it being their first crack at it. They're gonna get better, and it's gonna get more refined over time. If you're jumping into like a dragon, you're jumping in at a really good time because you're going to be at the beginning of this story rather than jumping into the middle of it. And I think it's real. Like I didn't come here trying to sell like a dragon, but I think like a dragon, it's a really good place to jump in.
Cool. Well, yeah, I guess for me, it's like a caveat. It's like, I guess I'm going to say no, I won't buy Lost Judgment, but because I think Yakuza 7 is a better entry point for me, and then maybe I'll get it later.
You got a
Yeah.
side sell.
Honestly,
Yeah.
once you're hooked, once you're like, oh, dude, this is awesome. Like you're gonna get all of them. Don't kid yourself. Like
Yeah.
there's there's a case over in the shelf. It's got the like all 6 of the first games. I got 7 right next to it, and I got Judgment and Lost Judgment. And I started playing this with 4. So
Okay.
Wow. Okay. Cool. All right, Jonah. You in the same boat as me, or what's going through your head?
I don't know. I'm not as much of a turn-based person as you are, so I think I
Okay.
might not buy Lost Judgment, but I probably will pick up the first Judgment game just to check it out, you know. So, but I mean, when I first saw the trailers of this game, I was like, am I watching a movie or am I like watching a game? Because it just like kind of popped up on the one of the PlayStation events, and I was like, what are we watching? What is all this detail on this old man's face? And then I saw the main character. I was like, oh wow, this looks really good. So yeah.
All right. What do you think,
RGG
Wes?
does great faces.
Yeah. So for me, I think anybody that knows me knows that I'm a big fan of the series overall. So
Nice.
like Slim said, I totally agree with him. Once you're hooked, you're gonna buy the whole thing. I have all of the games also. I
Okay,
also already
cool.
bought. Actually, I didn't buy it. Actually, I was gifted a copy of Lost Judgment from a friend.
Oh nice.
Uh,
Very nice.
but I was going to be picking it up anyway. So I'm definitely going to be playing this game. I'm definitely interested in it. I love all these games. What I will say, Caden, maybe 7 is a great place to start for you. It is a great game. It's a good place to start in the series. If I beat 'em up though, I really would suggest going back to 0 because 0,
Mhm.
in my opinion, is one of the best games in the series. It
It's the
has one of the
best.
best stories. It's right at the beginning
Wow.
of everything, and so there's nothing that came before it chronologically. It's super fun. It's super wacky, super zany. You get multiple playable characters in the game, and it's just a great time. So Jonah, I would still recommend starting with 0 over Judgment personally.
Okay.
Okay.
That's my personal recommendation. So, but it's a great series.
All right. Well, how are we doing on time, Jonah? Should we move into the game,
No,
or
we got time for one more pitch, and then we can
got
roll
time for
straight
another
in.
pitch?
We're like
All right.
well ahead of time.
Cool. Well, I will walk my little self up to the pitcher's mound and wait for Jonah to give me the
All
countdown.
right. 3, 2, 1. Play ball.
All right, so I am bringing an indie game called Sable, which I think did garner a little bit of attention online and stuff, just because of how artistically beautiful it is. It's got a very like I think his name's Mobius. He's like this classic like 50s maybe like French comic artist, has like really like iconic style, and they're like totally nailing his style. But the game, like if I had to like simplify it into a nutshell, it's like basically post-apocalyptic sci-fi Breath of the Wild with no combat basically, and a hover bike instead of a horse. But the game's just fascinating. It's like it's got that drive that Breath of the Wild gives you to explore, where it's got these different areas that are like different biomes, and they're just sprinkled with like points of interest, and you're like, "Ooh, I want to go there. Ooh, I want to go there," just based off of how interesting it looks from the distance. And then you get there, and something weird is going on. But what you're doing in the game really is you're a child from a nomad tribe who's like coming of age, and the way that their culture works is when you come of age, you're supposed to leave the tribe and go out into the world on your own and expose yourself to different kinds of experiences and vocations, and then decide what it is you want to do for the rest of your life, and then come back to the tribe and then do that for the rest of your life.
30
So
seconds.
kind of the gameplay is you're going from place to place and meeting people who do different things, like a scrapper who recovers scrap metal, or a merchant, or an innkeeper, and you're doing tasks for them, and they give you like a MacGuffin that you need 3 of, and then you can trade them in for a mask of that vocation. So you're kind of like trying out all these different things that people do around the world, and that's your reason to go around and explore. So if that makes any sense.
Time. Nice, man. I've
It's cool.
seen and heard a bit about this game, a
Hmm.
little bit,
Good
and
soundtrack too.
oh, good soundtrack.
It's by a band called Japanese Breakfast. I think the singer might be Japanese American, and I think they did like all the music for the game, and it's really good. So
They performed at the uh Jeff Keighley's thing, right?
Yeah.
that's right.
This
Yeah, they
summer.
did the theme song. Yeah,
Did you finish the game?
I haven't finished it yet.
Okay.
I've played a few hours. No idea how close I am to finishing it all. It's not like Breath of the Wild where it's like do these 4 things and then kill the bad guy. It's like I have no idea like what's the percentage here. So
Hayden, I would have never guessed that you played this game from all the screenshots that were on Twitter.
very screenshotable.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Hmm.
So you haven't finished it yet, but you don't know what the end goal is either. It's just like
Yeah.
turns you loose and says try stuff, basically.
It's
Does it
really
give
like
you
feeling like you're doing what the character's doing. It's like just go into the world and experience things like so
is there any kind of guidance whatsoever? Are there any
yes.
waypoints? Are there like points of interest or or anything, or is it just kind of like float around until you find something weird?
So the game starts out with like a Breath of the Wild plateau-esque area that's like a smaller blocked off portion of the open world. And the game has like dialogue. There's no voice acting, but there's like dialogue boxes. So it's not like super esoteric and like trying to be like Dark Souls. It's like people just talk to you and tell you to do things. So when you start out, your first quest as like part of your rite of passage to go out into the world is to build your hover bike. So there's like 3 main areas that are like mini dungeons, almost akin to like shrines or something in Breath of the Wild, that you have to go to get the parts you need to build your bike. And then once you build your bike, when you come back after building your bike, your tribe's just gone. Like they just like left while you were away, and they just like leave you a note. And one of the people from your tribe is like, go to this town out in the desert and speak to this guy, and he'll kind of get you started on the path of becoming like a machinist. So then you've got the big world map, and there's like a waypoint, and it's like go to this town and talk to this guy. So there's kind of like things like that, and as you talk to more people, you do have a quest log, and you pick up more quests, and they give you like waypoints on where to go to do them. But it's very like self-led because like the characters don't have like a big glowing exclamation point that's like come talk to me, I have a quest. You just talk to people, and some of them have quests, and then it's like, oh, a quest, okay, let's go ahead and do this. So
That's cool.
yeah.
Does it feel more like it's a linear kind of experience, like a narratively, or do you think like choices you're making in the game have any effect on like anything else, like later on down the road?
That's an interesting question. From what I've played so far, it doesn't really seem like you have like any kind of ripple effects from your choices. So the game doesn't feel linear. It does feel very open and like depends on just what personally interests you that you want to go do. But it is very like, here's the quest. This is what you need to complete the quest. You've completed the quest. It's not like a Dragon Age like thing where there's consequences for your actions or anything like that. So
So,
What stuff are you actually? Sorry,
no, you're
go
good.
ahead.
Go ahead. Good.
I was just curious, what kind of stuff are you actually doing other than just driving around the desert? Is there a lot of platforming? Is it very puzzle heavy? What is the actual gameplay like?
it's pretty interesting because like there's kind of like points of interest on the map that are like ruins of either an ancient civilization that used to be on this planet, or there's also like derelict spacecrafts that are from a time long past, and like the people on this planet now, like they kind of revere ancient technology in like a spiritual and religious sense, like they don't really understand it. So like one of the things you can do is there's this huge, obvious, like big red thing on the map that you can go check out. And when you get there, it's called the Whale, and it's like a gigantic like arc, like spacecraft that crashed who knows how long ago. And you can like go into it, and at first it just seems like it's like a set piece, like just to look at. Like you can just take your bike through it and come out the other end and then continue on your way. But you can actually like explore inside of it. It's a huge area, and then you realize there's like struts and like cranes and things that are moving like big pieces of machinery, and then you can start climbing on them and get up to like higher floors of the whale. And then it's this whole long, like it took me like an hour to explore this entire thing, and it is like platforming stuff, like you're jumping and climbing on stuff. It's got like the Breath of the Wild thing where you can climb like anything and you have like a stamina meter. And when I got to the depths of the whale, I got to like the bridge, and a holographic like humanoid representation of the ship's AI comes up, and off to the left and right are like sealed chambers in the bridge, and like one has like a super dope looking hover bike and one has like a super dope looking like spacesuit. And the AI basically gives you like ship logs of like what happened in the past, and then he's like, by the way, there's like other derelict ships out in the desert, and if you go to each of them, you can get a security key that it's going to open these rooms to like get you the cool hover bike and get you the cool spacesuit. And then if you go to each of those derelict ships, it's kind of like doing a shrine in Breath of the Wild. Like it takes you like, you know, 20-30 minutes to like go through the derelict ship, and you're doing platforming and puzzles and stuff to like solve the ship. And like that's just one like kind of overarching like branch of quests. It's about the derelict ships, but there's like other different kinds of things like that going on out in the desert. So
That's cool.
it's like pretty involved stuff, and it has like cool rewards. So
Um, so I is there like combat or anything in this game, or is it just like you're running around and hanging out and talking to people?
yeah, it's like it's super chill. Like you're just like trucking through the desert on your hover bike, and you find something like one of these derelict ships that's like that interests you, and then you go in it, and it's like, oh, this is like there's platforming and like, you know, key puzzles and stuff in here. So it really is just very a lot like Breath of the Wild if you just took the combat out of it. So yeah, it's just super chill. And I haven't missed the combat, you know, like it's not I don't feel like something's missing while I'm playing the game. Like it's an extremely like intriguing game. Like things just there's lots of weird bizarre stuff everywhere, and there it's usually like there's an interesting payoff to like exploring. It's not like you just go to the cool thing and you're like, oh, it's a cool thing, and then you move on. There's like you go inside of it and there's puzzles and stuff. So yeah.
Are there like hazards other than like fall damage? Like, can you come across like things that can kill you or whatever?
No, there's not even fall damage.
Oh,
One of your
really?
first quests in the game before you get your bike is to get this ability to generate like an anti-gravity bubble around yourself that slows your descent. It's basically the sci-fi version of the glider for Breath of the Wild. So one of the funnest things you can do in the game is like climb to the tallest point in the area and just jump off. And your character too has a lot of personality. She's like very vocal. Like there's no voice acting for like dialogue, but she like lets out like emotional like, you know, grunts or like shouts. So,
Oh,
you know,
so
you can like jump
she's
off.
Link.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But she starts like screaming as you're falling from this huge height, and then right as you hit the ground, she like automatically just deploys the anti-gravity bubble.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, there's no really the challenge of the game is like trying to solve the puzzles,
Okay.
basically. So that's like where the game's pushing back against you. So
Okay.
I don't know, man. I've seen Alien. I stay away from derelict spaceships.
yeah,
You're all chill until like a face hugger comes out. And
yeah.
you got no way to fight it because there's no combat in this game.
One thing I do want to point out is just like the hover bike. Both you and the hover bike have like cosmetics you can buy from merchants in different like towns and stuff, like, you know, new outfits and new parts for the bike. And the
Now
parts for
you're
the bike,
speaking my language.
yeah, the parts for the bike are all cosmetically different, and you can mix and match them. So like there's this one merchant who's like a guy who like raises and sells beetles or something like that, and he sells parts for a bike that looks like an insect, like a weird hover insect thing. And you know, you can mix and match those parts, and you can find like palette swap skins for your bike. So, and the parts actually affect like your speed and acceleration and handling and stuff. So like personalizing your bike is like a big thing, and it feels like a really good reward when you get new bike parts and stuff. So
So you're telling me that the main character is basically Link and they've got Beetle
yeah,
in this game. I'm
yeah,
in.
yep. Oh, and you control the hover bike by whistling. So it's got two modes where it just controls like you think it would, where you're just accelerating and like turning. But then you can like whistle, and then it like deploys these weird fins on the side, and then it like can strafe in like any direction. And then if your bike is ever missing, you could whistle, and then it like follows the sound of your whistle to get to you. You know, so
That was my next question.
Nice. You've got the Red Dead Redemption 2 horse bike
right.
All right.
right behind you.
I'm in. I'm so one thing I'm trying to convince my wife into letting me get an Xbox Series S. So I think this might be one of the first games I play when I pick that up.
Yeah, dude.
Game
Is
Pass.
it on a PC Game Pass?
I believe it is.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's
I think it is,
only,
actually.
let me see here. It's really cheap too, on its own. I think it's only like 20, yeah, it's $25. And like the world's like huge. Like I've probably played, I think I binged it for like 6 hours the day I bought it. I think I played like 10 hours total now, and I've only explored like 2 out of 5 sections of the map, like 2 of the
Holy
5 like
cow.
biomes. That it's a big game. There's like a lot to do, so you're getting like a lot of worth out of your $25. So
Heck yeah.
yeah, yep,
All right. I'm in.
one down.
Slim.
Check it out.
Wes?
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Sweet.
Whenever I have time, like
Right.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's like theoretically, I will buy this game and play it.
Wes.
as long as it's on Game Pass, I already have it
Oh, yeah.
theoretically.
Yeah, I literally just got PC Game Pass like 2 nights
Awesome.
ago.
Oh,
So
nice.
I will definitely check it out at some point. I was scoping it out. I was trying to check it out. I was like, oh yeah, Sable. Yeah, definitely Sable.
Awesome. All right.
Very cool. Well, that is the pitch, guys. Great work, everyone. I will turn things over to Wes Bates for the game.
Okay, I am hoping that my internet's gonna hold up for this thing.
Yeah.
We'll see how this goes. But I'm incredibly excited for this game. This is a game that's been stewing in my brain for months. And just I've been trying to figure out a good way to bring it to light, and I finally think I did. And so I'm excited for you guys to play this. So we're playing the alternate name game. We're talking about games that are well known, but have maybe unknown names in other regions. So, an example: if I were to ask you what's the alternate name for Resident Evil, you would say
Biohazard.
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 Yeah, there you go.
Yay. Almost said biomutant.
Exactly.
Biomutant.
BioShock. So I'm just gonna go through a series of these. This is a multiple choice thing, so A, B, and C, and you guys just have to guess which game. I'm gonna give you the alternate name, and you have to guess what the known name, at least here, is.
Okay.
We ready to go?
Yep.
Oh, and I'm gonna switch up the answering order as well. So because we have a tendency when we do these to kind of like ride on other people. So
sure.
we're we're gonna start out with Jonah, Caden, Slim, and then every
see.
round we'll go to like Caden, Slim, Jonah, and then
Fair enough.
Slim, Jonah, Caden,
Okay.
like that. That's cool.
We'll just rotate it. Cool. Sounds good.
All right. So the first question: Psycho Break. Is Psycho Break A, Condemned Criminal Origins, B, The Evil Within, or C, Fear?
I kind of. I'm gonna go. Dude, that's hard. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with A, Condemned.
Okay. Caden, what's your answer?
I am almost positive that this is the Evil Within.
I know. I'm so.
Is that your answer?
Yes.
Okay, Slim.
I also think that is my answer. The Evil Within.
The answer is The Evil Within.
Ah, dang it! I almost guessed it. No.
Go with the gut. Early lead.
All right, number 2. Canis Canem Edit. Is Canis Canem Edit A. Watch Dogs, B. Sleeping Dogs, or C. Bully? Caden, you're leading off.
I think that this is Bully. That's my answer.
Okay, Slim.
I am 100% sure this is Bully.
I'm gonna guess Bully.
So just for clarity, please don't say how sure you are of what the game is.
Okay, we don't want to tip Jonah off,
Hey.
basically.
All right, but the answer is Bully. So you all
I'll
got a
tell you
point.
right now, though, a lot of these I'm not going to know, and I'll tell you I'm 100% sure that I'm guessing correctly those times, too. So, yeah.
Nice.
All right, number
Throw 'em
three.
off the spot.
Number 3. Palutina's Mirror. Is this A. Mist, B.
Huh.
The Talos Principle, or C. Kid Icarus?
And this is me, right?
Yeah, Slim.
I'm 100% sure this is Mist.
I'm gonna say C. Kid Icarus.
Hayden.
Yeah, just because I know there's a character called Palutena in Kid Icarus, but that could be a red herring. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Kid Icarus.
It's Mist! No, actually, it is Kid Icarus.
Oh.
I was like, well, Palutena
Almost
uses the
gotcha.
mirror in like Smash Bros
Yeah.
and stuff, so I was like, maybe.
Smash
It
knowledge
was Kid
comes in
Icarus.
handy.
All right, here we go. Next one. Underway, Captain Canopio. Is
What?
that A. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, B. The Secret of Monkey Island, or C. Captain Commando? We're back to you, Jonah.
I know.
Underway, Captain Canopio.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
You know what? We're gonna go with B.
Monkey Island?
Monkey Island. Sure.
All right, Caden.
It just sounds so silly. Like I feel like it's probably Monkey Island because it's like a comedy game. So I am gonna go Monkey Island.
All right, Slim.
You know, just playing the game, I shouldn't guess Monkey Island, so I'm gonna go C.
Whatever that was.
Whatever that one
That
was.
was Captain Commando. The correct answer is A. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker.
No.
In Japan, Captain Toad is known as Captain Canopio.
I need to know more. Captain Canopio is so much more of an intriguing character than
Actually,
Captain Toad.
Toad is called Canopio in Japan. So
Really?
Are the species of the toads known as Canopios?
I
Like-
don't know the whole history. I'm
Is
just-
Captain Toad the same character as Toad?
I want to
don't-
hear him say, instead of "Hi, I'm Toad," I want him to be like, "Hi, I'm Captain Canopio." Sorry for that.
Canopio. Wow.
All
That's
right,
good
here
one.
we go. Next one, Metafight. Is that A. Killer Instinct, B. Blaster Master, or C. River City Ransom?
Is it me?
Yes.
Meta fight. I know Killer Instinct is about transforming into were creatures, which the word meta kind of like that's all I have to go on. I'm gonna go with Killer Instinct.
All right, Slim.
I like how deep we're getting to this. Like the Latin root of the word. What was B?
Blaster Master.
I'm gonna go with that.
All right, Jonah.
What was C?
River City Ransom.
All right, I'm gonna pick A.
The answer is Blaster Master.
Oh!
Good job, Slim.
It was a guess. 100% sure I was gonna, you know.
I was wondering if you knew it or not. Yeah.
All right, here we go. Number 6, Hitler's Revival. Top secret.
Oh, no.
Oh, I think I
Is
know
that-
what this is.
A. Wolfenstein 3D. B. Sniper Elite V2. Or C. Bionic Commando. Slim, I think you're leading off.
I'm gonna go with A on that one.
Hmm.
I'm gonna pick A as well. Wolfenstein.
I'm just gonna be really upset if it's not A. But yeah, I'm gonna go with A.
It's
The answer is C, Bionic Commando.
Yeah.
Wow,
knew
is
it as
Hitler
soon as-
in Bionic
I knew it
Commando?
as soon as I said that.
Yeah,
too.
he
I'm like,
is.
I
He
did
is.
not know that.
You there's like an infamous thing where you like explode his head at the end of
Wow,
that
Oh,
game.
red herrings.
Yeah, I fooled you all. As soon as I said that, I was like, oh wait, but Hitler's the Bionic Commando.
Well, when he said Hitler, I was like, oh, Wolfenstein. That was like my immediate thought.
Yeah, Sam.
All right, number 7, The Legend of Zelda: Triforce of the Gods 2. Is that A, A Link Between Worlds, B, A Link to the Past, or C, Link's Awakening? Jonah.
What is it? What is the game called?
The Legend of Zelda: Triforce of the Gods 2.
I'm gonna go with A Link Between Worlds.
Oh, man, I guess I'm gonna go with Adventure of Link.
Adventure of Link?
Dreamcast.
Is that a
was-
game?
That,
What was Zelda 2 called?
yeah, it was Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link. That's the
Was that
second
not
one,
one of the
but that
options?
That's
wasn't-
not
that
one.
wasn't
That was
enough.
not one of the options.
What, did you give me the options again?
It'd be amazing
Link-
if that was the
a
actual
Link-
answer.
The options were A Link Between Worlds, A Link to the Past, and Link's Awakening.
I think I could use Link's Awakening. Okay. I'll go with A Link Between Worlds.
Slim.
Both of the other ones have picked already, right?
Yeah.
So I'll
Mhm.
take the third option. I'll go C.
It was A Link Between Worlds.
Yay!
Nice.
A Link to the Past is known in Japan as Triforce of the Gods. Legend of Zelda: Triforce of the Gods. And so
Wow,
that
okay.
was technically Triforce of the Gods 2. All
That's
right,
very interesting.
here we go. Number 8. Probotector. Is Probotector Cybernator, Metal Warriors, or Contra?
Wow, all these already sound like they're like weird regional specific names to begin with.
So, Caden, I think we're on you.
Oh, okay. What was A?
Cybernator. Is
I'm
it
just gonna go with that
Cybernator,
one. I've never
Metal
heard
Warriors,
of
or Contra?
it. Cybernator, let's go.
Okay. Slim.
Contra.
Jonah.
What was the alternate name?
Probotector.
Robotector?
No, not Robo. Probo with a P.
Probo.
Probotector.
Let's go with B.
The answer is C, Contra.
Wow. Probotector.
Yeah, in the UK and Australia, I believe it was called Probotector.
Why did they think that would be more appealing to that audience? Like, what is?
Well, and the main characters were also robots. The
But
word
P?
like people.
It's
I-
not Robo,
I-
it's Probo. Like,
I don't know. I didn't make up the name. I'm just asking the question.
They're professional robotic protectors.
All right. Next one. Illusion of Time. Is Illusion of Time A, Illusion of Gaia, B, Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, or C, Star Tropics?
Huh.
Slim.
Me, right?
Yep.
What was the first one again?
Illusion of Gaia.
I think that's what I'm gonna go with.
Jonah.
I think I'm gonna pick C just because it's like so out there.
Okay. Caden.
I also feel like it's Star Tropics. Like, I'm getting a weird blip somewhere in the depths of my mind that I heard that. So hopefully it's Star Tropics.
The answer is A, Illusion of Gaia.
Ah, it's too easy.
It's so easy.
It was too obvious.
Okay, why did you pick Star Tropics? Of just like we're gonna throw a random game in there. Is that why?
There are time traveling elements in Star Tropics.
Oh, okay.
I've never played that game.
No, I have not.
So. All right. Next one. Bare Knuckle.
Hmm.
Is Bare Knuckle A, Streets of Rage, B, Bad Dudes, or C, Final Fight?
Streets of Rage.
I just like the way bad dude sounds, so I'm gonna pick that one.
Why? Because we're a bunch of bad dude.
Yeah.
I'll go with Final Fight.
The answer is A, Streets of Rage.
Nice one, Jonah. I didn't know you were so knowledgeable about video game alternate regional titles.
All right. Next one. Lilat Wars. Is Lilat Wars A, Star Fox Command, B, Star Fox 2, or C, Star Fox 64?
I'm really mad at US because as soon as I heard Lilat, it's like it's obviously gonna be the Star Fox game, and they're all Star Fox games.
I had
Lilat. What was it? Lilat what?
Lilat Wars. It's A, Star Fox Command, B, Star Fox 2, or C, Star Fox 64.
Let's just go with Star Fox Command. I've not even heard of that game. Star Fox Command? Which one was that?
I think it was something that came out on GameCube.
It's the right answer.
I don't know.
You've convinced me. I'm going with that too.
I'm gonna say Star Fox 2.
The answer is C, Star Fox 64.
Damn,
Yay!
All right, we got it. We got a few more here. Project Zero. Is Project Zero A, Fatal Frame, B, Virtue's Last Reward, or C, Clock Tower?
Who is it?
I think it's me.
Yeah.
Is it me?
Yeah.
Yes, sorry, it's Slim.
I gonna go with Clock Tower, and I don't know why.
I want to say it's Fatal Frame.
I will go with Virtue's Last Reward.
The answer is A, Fatal Frame.
Woo! Let's
Wow,
go.
Jonah. Wow, your luck stat is like maxed out today, bro.
All right, so the score right now is Jonah 5, Caden 4, Slim 5.
Oh,
Damn.
Oh,
damn.
I'm not
Come on.
last.
Oh,
I'm not
damn.
last.
I did not know I was doing that well.
We got it. We got just a couple more here. All right, the next one is Riot Act. Is Riot Act A, State of Emergency, B, Crackdown, or C, Dead to Rights?
Crackdown.
Jonah.
Crackdown.
I also want to say Crackdown.
It's Crackdown.
Oh, I guess Slim doesn't get the guess.
I was.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought everybody
Anyways.
guessed.
Nope.
I thought. All right, I'm gonna give everybody a point on that.
Yeah.
I apologize. I thought everybody guessed.
Somebody was a ventriloquist. They're throwing my voice out there. So.
All right, everybody gets a point on that one.
Okay.
The next one is Red and Black. Is
Sorry.
Red and Black A, Shadowgate, B, Bushido Blade, or C, Perfect Dark?
Go Bushido Blade. Why not?
That's also what I'm going with.
Same.
Oh God.
The answer is C, Perfect Dark.
Jonah was so calculated. He was like,
I almost picked. Not gonna lie, I almost picked Perfect Dark, but I haven't played any of those games, so I didn't know.
yeah.
I haven't. I don't remember any red or black in that game at all. So
Mhm.
it's been a
believe it
while
was
though.
I believe it was known as Red and Black in Japan.
Okay.
All right, two more. It's a Wonderful World. Is It's a Wonderful World A, The World Ends With You, B, Another World, or C, Harvest Moon?
I think. Wait, who's up? Is it
it's
Slim?
Slim.
I think it's Slim, yeah.
The world ends with you.
I
What?
learned my lesson from Illusion of Guy.
What was the second one again?
Another World.
We're gonna pick Another World.
Another World is not a wonderful world. I will pick Harvest Moon. I think this is not a random guess. I think it's actually Harvest Moon. I think I've heard this one.
It is The World Ends With You.
Oh, come on. Talking out of my ass over here. I should've learned my
100%
lesson.
sure. You got to say
All
you're
right,
100% sure.
Right.
This is the last one. The last one is Violence Killer. Is Violence Killer A, Manhunt, B, Turok, or C, Splatterhouse? Jonah.
Manhunt.
Turok.
Manhunt.
The answer was Turok.
Oh.
Yes.
All right,
Wow,
so
dragging Jonah down
the-
to last place with me.
the final score is Jonah 6, Caden 6, Slim 7.
Woo!
Oh my
So
God.
we have our winner.
Congratulations.
Good job, Slim.
Congratulations.
It was luck. I am the most casual of casual gamers. I know none of the above. So.
Hey, at
Excellent
least
work.
I didn't lose to Caden. That's all that matters.
So now
Like,
hopefully you all know
yes.
like all the alternate titles. This is really
Yeah.
relevant information. It's going to come in super handy and useful for you in your future lives. And
I think I played one game on this entire list of games.
If there's a quiz tomorrow, I won't remember any of this. So.
If there was a quiz right now, I wouldn't remember any of it.
Well, I gotta hand it to you, Wes. That was an incredible game. I'm sure that took a ton of research. Lots of very clever. The Star Fox one was just dirty. Great work.
that's why I said it took like 3 months. It's hard to find these things.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys. Slim is crowned the champion of this week's game, and we made it to the end of the podcast. Congratulations.
Yay!
We'll go around real quick for our final thoughts. I'll let Slim go as the guest. Just literally anything you want to plug or just on your mind. Final thoughts.
Man, I don't really have a whole lot to say about anything other than movies, so I'm just gonna say, I've hope that everybody is staying safe out there. Make sure you're masked up, practice your social distancing, get your vax if you can. And I hope everybody has a safe and happy holiday.
Woo.
You're here. Jonah, final thoughts? Slash housekeeping?
My final thoughts. I don't think we have anything going on housekeeping.
Yeah.
We're doing our Secret Santa stuff, but I mean we're in the middle of that, so it's just the time of giving gifts and stuff and appreciating the people we've got. Speaking of appreciating people we've got, something I didn't tell you guys. So make sure you have parental controls on your consoles when your children are playing them, because my daughter dropped $150 on Genshin Impact coins.
Oh.
Whales! Whale status, making it rain.
She had no
Holy
idea what she was
crap.
doing, and
Oh no.
Genshin Impact doesn't pull you out of the game to go into the marketplace to buy currency. My wife walked out of the room for 5 minutes and came back, and she's like, "Oh, did your account get hacked?" And I was like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah, it says we have a purchase of $50 on PlayStation." And I looked at my email, and there was like 10 transactions, and she was just going down the line clicking it, and I was like, "No."
Now you're invested.
And so I'm gonna call PlayStation support tomorrow to see if I
Classic
try and
story.
get some money back, because
Good luck.
yeah.
We wish you the best.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, she's not allowed to play Genshin Impact all weekend. That stuff, that currency's gonna stay on that account, and I'm not gonna touch it.
Game's doing what it's designed to do.
Yep.
So you have anything else you want to?
The impact was on your wallet.
Yeah.
Yep. Nope, that's it. What you got for us,
All
Wes?
Not a whole lot. Just, we're in the holiday season, so it's just all the more reason to just be kind to each other. Kindness doesn't cost anything, and it goes a long way. So, just everybody be good to each other. And I just wish everybody a happy holidays. Because we're in the season.
Yay.
All right. My final thoughts. I got that weird present bundle thing from Pizza Hut where it's like 2 pizzas and like breadsticks and cinnamon rolls, but it comes wrapped in like a present, like a Christmas present looking box, and then you put it on the floor, and now your cats have a playhouse. So, you know, that's what I've got going on today. Well, as always, I've been your host, Kate of Birthday Lane, and please check us out on YouTube. We're just Great Game Debate on YouTube. Our Twitter's at the Great Game Debate, spelled DEB and then the number 8, so DEB8. And come by, I think on our Twitter, on any of our personal Twitters, you can find a link to join our Discord. Just come on by for some wholesome, non-toxic adult, not like XXX adult, like responsible and mature like conversation of video games and other pop culture topics.
I mean, if
Relatively mature.
If you're talking to Steven, it might get XXX, but
right. Cool. So yeah, thanks everyone. Bye.
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 As always, a big thank you to our friend Misdriven for the music in our podcast. If you like what you hear and you want to check out more of what they have, you can pay them a visit on Twitter at MIST_RIVEN719 or on Bandcamp at Misdriven. Thanks again for tuning in. Till next time.